Hi, I'm Isabella Nunn, and I'm a senior consultant in Empiric's defence and central government practice. Today, I'm hosting Empiric's Insights series, which is our video series where the team interviews kind of high-performing experts for guidance and perspectives for different specialities and roles that we recruit for. Today, I'm lucky enough to be speaking to Nigel Thomas, Senior Sales Director for Aerospace and Defence at Cyient. Thanks for taking the time to speak to us today, Nigel. And please, can you introduce yourself and give us kind of like a brief overview of your career history so far?
Okay, yes, of course, Bella, thank you. Yeah, Nigel Thomas. I'm the senior sales director for an Indian-based company called Cyient, and for the last 33 years, Cyient has been providing engineering services to global companies, and for the last 25 in aerospace and defence. And that's my chosen industry, is the aerospace and defence industry. I've actually also been in this industry for 25 years as a manufacturer, as an engineer, supply chain services provider. And for the last 10 years, 10, 12 years, I've been looking at the aerospace and defense industry through a digital lens, working for some of the world's largest technology companies, helping to solve some of the problems that exist globally in the aerospace and defense manufacturing and support arena.
So brilliant. I suppose we've got some pretty interesting questions. Starting off, I think maybe there's been a lot at the moment about safe engineering and AI in the aerospace domain. Where do you think the line between safe engineering and new technologies like AI in aerospace sits?
Uh, really complex question, and I think it's at least a triangle. Probably got more corners than that, between innovation, safety, and cost. And you only have to look at some of the recent problems by aircraft manufacturers and what they've experienced, and previously in the automotive industry also. Everybody wants to innovate with the latest technology, ideally to be more productive for the business, to make more product for the same effort or the same cost, to drive better financial performance. But unless you build safety into those sort of innovation and cost calculations, then you can have some pretty catastrophic downsides. And we all drive cars, and most of us go on holidays in an aircraft. We don't really want catastrophic outcomes, do we? We want to be safe and boring, typically. And from my own industry, for aerospace and defence, they're typically slow to adopt the latest technologies with very good reasons. AI, machine learning, large language models, small language models are all on the agenda, but everybody in aerospace defence is approaching it with a fair amount of caution, I would say. And I think there's a subtly different approach being taken recently, in that everyone knows we all have to use technology for better purposes. However, you have to design in safety and quality, so that they are inherently, the processes that run the business are inherently able to be automated and to be the slickest and the most efficient and the best they can. Everybody wants reduced processing time when you're buying an airline ticket or a holiday, or going through an airport, and that you want your luggage to be with you on time at the other end. All of that takes a huge amount of technology to make it happen, and it takes even more investment in technology to make it better. But the challenge for businesses, there's got to be a pragmatic business case for all of these things. You can't just run at the new technology. I think we've all tried that, and been some very high-profile failures. So everyone, certainly in aerospace and defence, is probably a little bit more cautious.
Yeah, no, that's really insightful there. Perfect. And it leads me, I suppose, quite well into the next sort of question.
Mm.
As you said, like AI, hot topic, massive kind of buzzword at the moment. And there are definitely use cases of it being implemented into the A and D industry. kind of have you seen any examples of where it's improving things at the moment?
Yeah, actually, it's where it is being adopted, it's doing really good things. Um, if I just use AI as a generic term for everything else, machine learning, large language models, etc. Um, let's look at aerospace manufacturing. It's actually making a big difference, and I can give you three specific examples that I've worked on personally, and that Cyient is delivering for its customers now. Um, One is in productivity of engineering. We hear a lot about the lack of qualified engineers in the global market. It's certainly prevalent here in the UK. We don't have enough people coming out of university, well, school in the first place, then university, with the qualifications and the desire to be engineers. So therefore, we really need technology to help the engineers we do have become more productive. And typically, where AI is being used to remove the onerous, boring, repetitive tasks for engineers, companies are reporting, strong double-digit benefits, typically in excess of 20% productivity gains. The second example I would use would be predictive maintenance. So using the computing power of AI to gain insights from the many data sources for assets and infrastructure to make interventions to either reduce downtime for an asset. It might be an aircraft which is on the ground and needs to be in the air, or stopping the downtime before it happens, so getting to the root cause of the problem. And then secondly, I think your original question was about safety, and if safety and quality, if they are designed into processes, then technology has a place to sit within those processes and deliver real measurable benefits. So reduction in processing time, improved accuracy. It's a really big area of benefit for any business, but certainly for aerospace and defence, which has been, as I say, traditionally a sort of a laggard in adopting new technology. Then it's making a big difference. Um, yeah,
No,
and
that
the last
sounds.
one I had on there, sorry, I just had one more, would be sort of self-service support. We're all used to working with bots in retail and chatting to people that we're not really sure whether they're real or not. One particular OEM has reduced their resource allocation by 40% by looking at critical issues and boosting customer satisfaction by the use of AI, sort of bots as a general term, then, if you like.
Yeah, no, that's really cool, and it's quite even though I suppose AI is quite a recent topic, it's good to see that even though defense are quite slow on the uptake, they've already started to see such big like reductions in I suppose like times, and 40% is quite a good deal there.
Yeah, yeah, and it has to make business difference. The technology for technology's sake is not something that people can indulge in, because it's a huge area of investment. This stuff is not cheap, and it has to pay for itself, and then it has to deliver some business improvement as well. So it's not an easy upside to achieve.
Yeah, hard decision for the CTOs out there.
Yeah,
um
I wouldn't want to be one right now. Is everybody's got an AI thing to sell? So here at Sign, we're slightly different. We're coming at it from an engineering point of view, and we are engineers and think like engineers, and therefore it's a slightly different, interesting point of view.
yeah, no, really really interesting. Um, okay, so take a slight deviation, I suppose, more towards people-centric things.
Hmm.
What value do you find that sort of events, going to events and attending events within the aerospace and defense space, like oh brain, like Sustainable Skies and the Paris Air Show, what do they what value do they bring to the industry?
Well, hopefully a lot, 'cause I'm going to Paris this year, and I love going there. It's hard yards. I don't know if you've ever been. But it's Le Bourget is a long way outside Paris. It's always hot, it's busy, but it's one hell of an experience. It's a really good place to be. Um, it sort of harks back to my last comment really that you go to the trade shows and everybody's got a shiny new bit of technology. Everybody's got an AI thing to sell. It's an AI addresses this, AI solves that problem. Um, uh, but you take things like sustainable skies and you look at one of the biggest hot topics globally that there is, pun intended with the hot topics, by the way. You think about sustainability as a set of aims. People tend to think about it being green, having less impact on the environment, and all the regulations come first, and a little bit like safety and quality, and then slowly those regulations, once they become a level playing field for everybody, then companies start to use their points of difference to gain market advantage. And I think that's where we're going with issues like sustainability. It's difficult, however, for most companies to understand where they fit in. So outside of my day job, I have an unpaid role as chair of the digital transformation group for ADS, the UK trade body for aerospace, defence, space and security. And a lot of the 1,300 members of ADS, many of 80% of which are SMEs, they get really stuck. They know they have to comply with regulations, but they also know that unless they're able to compete on this sort of global stage in a global set of global supply chains, then what does the future spell for them if they can't compete? Who knows? So that's where AI and the sort of next gen technologies can really help. There are a lot of ways that SMEs can shortcut the route to finding all of their data that helps them be compliant, but also then turning that into competitive advantage in the market. But it's not easy. There are many organizations, global brands and technologies that have made the wrong decision as to where to go in the market. You think, going back to videotapes of VHS versus Betamax, Nokia versus iPhone, and even ChatGPT sitting at the top of everybody's or the front of everybody's brain recently, and then all of a sudden China comes out with DeepSeek, which is a fraction of the cost of ChatGPT, does the same and maybe more. So the world it's fast moving. Trade shows have their place because you get to see lots of different vendors in one place, but it's again a bit of a minefield for those businesses attending, and it's a shop window, but you don't have to walk into every shop, I suppose. They have their place.
It's a good analogy. Um, I suppose then, almost following on from that in a way, then, how do you think the ever-changing political landscape, like our changes in trade policies, specifically kind of like within the UK and Europe at the moment, do you think that's going to affect jobs in the sector?
Wow, it really is an unstable world at the moment, isn't it? Tariffs coming out of the US, and then a court judgment yesterday saying the tariffs are illegal. You can't just do that. So, or depending on what day of the week it is, sometimes what time of day it is, it seems to be that something is changing with regards to tariffs, trade wars, real wars fought on in multiple fronts, all affecting the level of uncertainty that business exists in. And I think that's a bit of a challenge for all businesses at whatever size, whether you're SMEs or a global OEM. Uncertainty is not a good thing. We, I think, we struggle, don't we, as consumers, as to what to make of the world. With COVID happening, we've stopped flying, but it doesn't take long for us to rediscover the love of flying. But now we also have to be sustainable. So now we want to fly. We want to make less pollution, less noise, travel further using less fuel, so travel cheaper. but also the aircraft manufacturers are investing in new technologies to make aircraft and its systems and components out of more sustainable materials, in many cases reusable materials, certainly less metals and rare earth materials. So it's getting to be really complex for us as consumers as to how to make a choice, but also for manufacturers and service providers as well. And the biggest thing, I suppose, for me, as the outcome of all of this, or the underlying theme for all of this uncertainty right now, is the sort of network of global supply chains that have taken 25, 30 years to build, so that we can have next day deliveries or just in time deliveries, that we can fly globally and get the same level of service wherever we're landing in the world as if we were coming from our own base as well. And there might be some disruption. Markets typically have a sort of a self-leveling mechanism that they'll find stability where there can be stability found, and I think that's what will happen over time, but it might take time to get there. I don't think we're going back to any sort of notion of cheap foreign travel anymore. At a personal level, having booked foreign holidays this year, they're a lot more expensive, and not just because of fuel and living costs when you get there, but also foreign exchange as well, which always is a home for risk or protection against risk for sovereign nations. And then you look at the UK in aerospace and defence. It's a big industry. It employs a lot of people. It's worth about £59 billion per year, with about half of that, but £29 billion as export. It supports a lot of high earning jobs. I certainly don't think the defence industry is going to suffer in the UK in the coming months and years. The withdrawal of the US from supporting other nations' defence stance means we're all going to be spending more money as a nation, as a percentage of GDP. That means that there will be investment in high value, high tech jobs, particularly in the technology sector as we move. Platforms like GCAP, the sixth generation fighter. There's going to be more AI to support the fighter, and also to fight the war itself in terms of drones, as well as highly automated piloted aircraft. And then that's also being replicated in new maritime investments in frigates and warships, and also in submarines. So it's not going to be a bad thing for jobs in the UK in the defence industry. Aerospace, a little bit more uncertain, perhaps, because of everything we've talked about previously, the technology, sustainability, impact on the environment. But currently, there's a bigger backlog of aircraft on order than there's ever been. I think something like 15,000 aircraft are currently on back order, and all of those will eventually be delivered into the market to replace the existing heavier, higher fuel burn aircraft that exist and are flying today. The future is definitely reasonably secure there. Perhaps I might undo the word definitely and say reasonably. But we all want to stay on travelling. We've all found a way of living life, at home and abroad that probably nobody wants to give up. So I think the future is fairly certain there, but with some bumps along the road.
Yeah, no, that's it's really insightful. You mentioned earlier briefly as well about AI being kind of useful to plug the gap in almost engineering vacancies in the UK. Do you think we're doing enough as a country almost to help develop the new generation of talent, both in aerospace and defence, if the industries are going to continue to at least stabilise or if not grow in defence cases?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I don't think AI will replace jobs. What I do think is it will make people doing the existing jobs more productive. So it will allow them to
Yeah.
focus on more engineering tasks as opposed to the administrative tasks that go alongside the engineering job. Interesting. When I first started in aerospace, back in about 1999 and 2000. the average age of an aerospace engineer was 56 in the UK. Now the average age of an aerospace engineer is 58. So it's getting worse. So are we producing enough engineers? No, certainly not enough with the digital skills that are needed. There's a sort of working concept of the engineer as data scientists. You cannot just do engineering with hand skills and 2D drawings anymore. It's a very intensely digital world. It has been for a while, but it is even more so. So how are we going to cover those gaps? So technology can help with productivity and throughput. And what it also means is, and this is one of the reasons why I'm at Cyient, an Indian-based engineering services company, is we need help from other highly skilled engineering or highly skilled in engineering and technology markets like India, where there's a burgeoning middle class of highly qualified, highly skilled graduates in engineering and technology.
Yeah, awesome. That's really cool. Perfect. Yeah, I mean, is there anything else that you want to mention, kind of based on any of these questions, or just generally, I suppose, insightful things that you've come across recently?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting area for discussion. I know that from my work at ADS that um, uh, the supply chains that make up the UK aerospace and defence industry are often struggling to place their next bet. So, do they invest in technology A, or do they wait 6 months and wait for technology B to come around, which is usually better than technology A and maybe even cheaper? But the longer you put off those decisions, how much more uncompetitive do you become against your global competitors, whether they be from the US or mainland Europe, China, or anywhere else. So it's the SMEs in the UK are really feeling it, and I think they could do with some impetus from government to help them with their investments in technology. I think the government is gradually realizing that the digital infrastructure is absolutely an essential part of growth. We're not growing very fast at the moment, generally 0.1% per quarter or something of that ilk. We need to generate more, and it's growth that our businesses need, and some of that will come from technology. We're really good at it in the UK. We're just not necessarily good at investing in it at scale, and we tend to be a little bit more frightened of it.
Perfect. Well, yeah. Thanks. I suppose thanks very much for your insight on all of these, Nigel. It's been really interesting to get your scope on some of the pressing issues, pressing questions that people have at the moment in this kind of space.
Well, thank you, Bella. Absolute pleasure as always to talk. Happy to link up anytime.
Thanks.